Right now, the rest of the country looks up at our government in D.C. and they see this set of government pipes clogged full of money, clogged full of millions and millions of dollars of lobbyist cash, and they think there's nothing they can do to flush the pipes clean. They are correct. There's nothing they can do. There's only something that you all can do. In 30 days, that's the importance of this choice. So the question is, how can we flush the pipes clean and send the country in a new direction? If you're here tonight, you heard at some point that there's a man running for president who wants to give everyone in the country $1,000 a month. Raise your hand if you've seen that. And I know the first time you heard that, it sounded too good to be true, like a gimmick. But it's not my idea and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country, called it the citizens' dividend. Martin Luther King, whose son I sat down with in Atlanta a month ago. So I was sitting with Martin Luther King III, and he said to me, Dad was fighting for this when he was killed. And I just couldn't stop thinking, you just called Martin Luther King Dad. And then I was like, yeah, you're Martin Luther King III, so that is what you'd call him. But this is what he was fighting for when he was assassinated in 1968, a guaranteed minimum income for all Americans. It was so mainstream in the 60s that 1,000 economists endorsed it, including Milton Friedman, one of the most important economists of the century. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And do you know what state that is?
Alaska.
And how does Alaska pay for it?
Oil.
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Data.
Technology, data, AI, software. Amazon, $1 trillion tech company. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year? Zero. That is your math, Iowa. 20 billion out, zero back. 30% of your stores and malls close forever. And Amazon laughs all the way to the bank. You are here to get a beer at your favorite bar here in Burlington, yes, but you're also here to make sure that we rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy so that Amazon does not pay less in taxes than everyone that's out here tonight. Does that sound like a good idea to you all?
Yes.
And again, that is your power. Right now, Jeff Bezos is worth $115 billion post-divorce. That's no judgment, that's just a statement, in fact. And his $1 trillion tech company is paying less in taxes than each and every one of us. And that's not right. What we have to do is get that value back from the Amazons and Facebooks and Googles of the world and put it into your hands, the hands of the American people. This is how we're going to build a trickle-up economy that makes our families and our communities stronger each and every day. And this is the vision that you can make real in 30 days. I've been giving, or the campaign's been giving, sometimes it's me and Evelyn, sometimes it's the campaign. We've been giving $1,000 a month to 14 or 15 families around the country over the last number of months. And one of the families was in Iowa Falls, Kyle Christensen, who's at home with his mom who's recovering from cancer. And I showed up and gave them this freedom dividend a number of months ago, and I have to say, when I first showed up in their home, Kyle was a little down. I mean, I didn't know, this is my only time meeting him, so I didn't know there was like a down Kyle and a happy Kyle. I just met him, and it was sort of a rough time for the family. But then I saw Kyle 3 months later, and he seemed like a new man. I almost didn't recognize him. He actually said, "Hey, Andrew, it's me, Kyle," and I was like, "Kyle?" And he seemed like a new man. He explained to me that after he had paid some of his family's bills, he then took some of the money and bought himself a guitar. And it turns out that Kyle was a very talented musician who had sold his guitar months earlier to help pay for his mom's care. And after he got this dividend, he then bought himself a guitar, and he was back to performing out in the community, and he seemed like a new man for it. For Kyle, it was a new guitar. For Jody Fassey in New Hampshire, it was car repairs to visit her daughter. For Mallory, it was going back to school. It's not about what $1,000 a month is in a bank account. It's what it means in our hands every single day. We can make it so that the things we value actually are the way we live our lives. I know it seems like a lot for a Saturday night. But right now, Evelyn and I are away from our two boys, one of whom is autistic. Evelyn left her job 7 years ago to stay at home with our boys as a stay-at-home parent. What is her work valued at every day according to our economic measurements?
Zero.
Zero. And it's not just Evelyn and stay-at-home parents here in Iowa and around the country. It's caregivers, people like Kyle who are taking care of their aging relatives. It's nurturers, it's coaches, it's mentors, it's volunteers, it's artists all too often, like the people who perform at on this stage every night. It's journalists increasingly because we've put 2,000 local newspapers out of business because all of their advertising went up to the internet and disappeared. These are the things we're supposed to value most dearly in our lives. Our families, our loved ones, our communities, like our creativity, our humanity, and it's all getting zeroed out progressively. And you here in Iowa have experienced this more than just about anyone. This is why a purple state went to Donald Trump by 8 points 3 years ago. It started on your farms and moved to your factories. Now it's on your main streets, closing 30% of your stores and malls. Soon it will hit your highways in the form of robot trucks. This is what's happening around the country, and it is in your power and your power alone to turn the tide. It is your power to say to the rest of the country that economic value and human value are not the same things. That we have intrinsic value as people, as citizens, and as Americans.
Yes.
Corporate profits are at record highs in today's America, also at record highs. Stress, anxiety, mental illness, financial insecurity, student loan debt, even suicides and drug overdoses. It has gotten so bad that our life expectancy as a country has declined for the last 3 years in a row. First time in 100 years. Last time it happened was the Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. Think about all the headlines you've seen about record high stock market prices that don't matter to any of us, about record low unemployment rates that obscures the real weakness and suffering in our communities. How many headlines have you seen about our life expectancy going down and then down and then down again? Almost unheard of in a developed country. Which do we care about more in this country, corporate profits or are people dying sooner? Unfortunately, in Washington, D.C., the answer is clear. They succeed whether we succeed or fail. They are now the richest city in our country. Think about that for a second. What do they produce?
Hot air. Bad decisions.
That is why Trump won, because the connection between us and our government has been broken. We have to reestablish it by having an uprising of the people that then sweeps the pipes clean and restores our own control of our own government and our own country. We do that in 30 days, we get to the top, and then we rewrite the rules to work for us, to work for you, to work for our families, to work for our kids. I'm not running for president because I fantasized about being president of the United States. And Evelyn can vouch for this. She would have run the other way if she thought I was going to run for president. I'm running for president because I've seen the future that lies ahead for our kids and yours, and it is not something I am willing to accept. We have to do better by them. That's what I am fighting for, and I hope you will fight right there with me in 30 days. Donald Trump's our president today because he had a very clear message and story. He said he was going to make America great again. What did Hillary Clinton say in response?
America's already great.
America's already great. Remember that? It's been a long 3 years, but it's about to end.
Yeah.
Hillary's response did not go over well because the problems are real. The suffering is real. We have to acknowledge the depth and severity of the problems, but then we need solutions that will actually move our country forward. What were Donald Trump's solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock backwards, and bring the old jobs back. Burlington, you know we have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of this time. We have to evolve in the way we think about ourselves and our work and our value. I am the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Let's make history together in 2020. Thank you all. Math is an acronym, and it stands for Make America Think Harder. That is your job. It's your job to move this country, not left, not right, but forward.